Hey friends, welcome to the Fierce Calling podcast, where I am talking with guests who are taking action where their passion, compassion, and conviction intersect, which is their fierce calling. And you are listening to episode 224. Today we're talking about Beyond I Don't Know What to Say, Navigating Grief Conversations with Grace with my friend Cheri Fletcher. This is, yes, a difficult subject to talk about, but friends, grief is a part of life, and none of us really can escape that there will be experiences in our lives when we lose someone we love. And maybe you're going through a difficult season right now. Maybe you know someone who is. And so this episode is going to really encourage you. We're talking about the grief cards that Cheri developed after losing her beautiful daughter, Annie, and you're going to hear that story as well. But it was just, people just didn't know what to say to her. So she felt led by the Lord to create these conversation cards, and they're going to really help you to navigate conversations with someone that you are talking with that maybe just experienced a loss, or perhaps you're the one that experienced a loss and you want to help others to have these conversations with you. Blessing someone, or even what to say to someone. And I know that what Cheri shares is going to encourage, inspire, and challenge you. So listen in, friend, while I have a chat with Cheri Fletcher. What is threatening to steal your joy? What is it that feels so heavy right now that you could barely stand? God has a plan, and His plan is to surrender it. Surrender it to Him. It might be a prodigal. It might be a relationship, a marriage, something with your job. So many things. We have so many amazing blessings, but there are so many things in our life that threaten to steal our joy. I'm Doris Swift, author of the award-winning 6-week Bible study, Surrender the Joy Stealers, Rediscover the Jesus Joy in You. And it helps women rediscover the overflowing, ever-present Jesus joy within. Using personal and biblical stories, I share how you can identify your joy stealers, surrender them to God, reawaken the joy within, and share the joy with others. You can do it on your own or with a group. If you're looking for a Bible study for this summer, check it out, friends. Surrender the Joy Stealers, Rediscover the Jesus Joy in You. It's available on all the online retailers. It's time to take your joy back. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm excited to welcome my good friend and sister in Christ, Cheri Fletcher. We are going to be talking all about something that you are going to want to listen in, and you're going to love what she's created. They're called Beyond I Don't Know What to Say, Grief Communication Cards. And she designed them to spark meaningful conversations that keep precious memories alive. And that is amazing. After the loss of her daughter in 2023, Cheri now helps others navigate life's transitions with faith, reminding them that while their roles might change, our purpose is eternal. And that is a very, very important truth for us to remember. She is wife to Todd, and they have 2 married sons, and love the wives too that they chose, that God sent to them. And absolutely. I love these cards. We're going to talk more about it and hear more about Cheri's story. I love how the cards say grief communication cards were inspired by my journey to foster meaningful conversations and heartfelt connections between grieving families and their supporters. So that is beautiful. Cheri, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you.
You forgot to mention that we were roommates.
Oh, that's right. We roomied together. Is that a word, roomied?
It's fun.
We roomed together.
Roomied
together
at a conference.
Yeah, that was really great.
Was great.
Time to spend together, and we talked into the night, and so it was really, really great. And so I'm just so thankful for you. And I got to see you again last year. That didn't work out well for me because I had, a very major tooth issue and could not attend most of the retreat that we were at. But I still got a hug.
Oh, it was so sad.
Still got a hug.
Yes, it was great to see you, and thanks for having me today. What a treat.
Yeah. Yes. So I would love if you would share with our listeners today a little bit about your story and, the cards that you created, which kind of falls into the question of where you're taking action, where your passion, compassion, and conviction intersect.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. My tagline, our roles in life will change, but our purpose is eternal. Um, that's been my tagline even before my daughter passed away. So now a lot of times our calling becomes, we live out our calling, right? And I'm learning that very actively. But our daughter, Annie, she was my firstborn and only daughter. And she had her master's in social work, and she was also a singer-songwriter in Nashville. And she told us at age 12 that she was going to live in Nashville. We lived in Seattle, Washington for 30 years. And she was singing. She started writing her songs when she was about 2 years old. I would put her in timeout, and she would go and start singing out loud about why she was upset in her timeout. And so she would sing why it was unfair and why she shouldn't be in timeout, and she would sing her woes. And so she started, her singing songwriting journey early on. And but at 12 years old, she said, someday I'm going to live in Nashville. That's what I'm going to do. And she did it. She got her master's, and a week later took a job in Ohio because it was closer to Nashville. And within 4 to 5 months of that, she got a job in Nashville and moved. So she did it, and she was out there in 2019. And then in 2020, my husband's job took us to Tennessee. And so we were able to move to Tennessee, and one of our sons who was in school brought him with us as well. And then our other son stayed out in the Northwest for a while. Now he's out here too. But anyway, our daughter, in August of 2023, it was August 11, called and said, Mom, well, she hadn't been feeling good, but at age 29, trying to get them to actively see a regular doctor. She had mentioned just not feeling that great, but she was really busy working on getting her own business license and doing social media and photography for other people in the music industry. And she's an amazing photographer as well. So she would go. Her boyfriend is a singer songwriter. So she would go to these concerts with the musicians, take their photos, and help them run their social media. So she was getting her business license, and she was too busy to go to the doctor, just too busy. And she would say, well, I'll take care of that. In a couple months, I'll have my license and I'm going to be good and I'll go see a doctor. But she would talk about stomach aches and whatnot. Well, on August 11, she called and said, Mom, I'm actually coughing up some blood. And so I told her to meet me at the hospital, Vanderbilt, and 12 days later, she passed away. It was a crazy 2 weeks. They thought she had pulmonary hypertension, and they were treating her for that. But that was a Friday that she went into the hospital. By Wednesday, she was on ECMO, which is, in a very, it's life support. And her oxygen was so bad that they couldn't intubate her. They couldn't run the tests they wanted to run. So they were trying to treat her the 5 different ways you treat pulmonary hypertension, and she wouldn't respond to any of them. And what those days bought us were the ability to fly our one son out, and my other son, it bought us time to spend time with her, not knowing that it was our last time, but it bought us that time. And they finally thought, well, we'll just have to do a lung transplant because these aren't working. And on the 21st, they said, well, we're going to get her ready for a lung transplant. And so they started all the transplant procedures. And on the 22nd, they said, we'll do a full body CAT scan to make sure she's a good recipient. And then the evening of the 22nd, they came in and said, there's a mass on her ovary that we don't know what that is. We'll have to do a biopsy on that. So, but they couldn't do a biopsy the normal way because they couldn't put her to sleep to do a biopsy because her oxygen was too low. And so they did one from the outside going in. And that was on I don't know if that was the Tuesday night or the Wednesday morning, but she ended up passing away Thursday morning, the 23rd. And we didn't get the results from that biopsy for about almost 3 weeks. And it ended up being colorectal cancer that had metastasized to her ovaries, got into her bloodstream and had filled her lungs. So it wasn't the pulmonary problem, it was the cancer that had just filled her lungs. And so it was a type of cancer that they say it's kind of like a match. Once you strike it, it just fills you up. And even if they had found it, they think it's about 12 months. Even if they had found it 12 months earlier, they would have just said, we're really sorry, you can't even treat this. So I think if you're going to look for a silver lining, good that she didn't know, that she was just going,
Mm-hmm.
and then she passed away on a Thursday, and she got her business license on a Monday. So she made it to Nashville, and she made it to self-employment, and she has songs out on the iTunes. So she did it. She got, she did it. But yeah, she was just a real driven little gritty girl. And so the cards, when someone passes away, one of the phrases you hear is, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, now, and you're experiencing with your
Right.
mom, um, there's people that, grief is a hard thing, I think, in our Western culture, that we just don't know how really well. There are other cultures that really do do lament and grief well. I don't believe we do. And there are people that don't even address it. They just are so scared of what to do with it because they don't want to say something wrong, that they just completely don't say
Yeah.
anything.
Yep. They avoid it. And it's
Mhm.
interesting that you do say other cultures do it better than us. And I think, I can see how that can be true. But you're right, because people feel uncomfortable because they don't know what to say. And then oftentimes you all have probably experienced people even pulling away from you. Is that true too, Cheri?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think child loss is it's a different kind of
Mm-hmm.
scary, because it's not a natural order. And people will say, "Oh, I can't imagine what you're going through," and actually, you are imagining it. It's the pain that you can't imagine and you don't want to imagine. It's painful to lose a parent. It's painful to lose a spouse, but the pain of losing a child is something that it's just not something. So when someone says, I can't imagine, I think you actually are imagining it. It's the pain that you just can't go there. And so I tell people, I'm probably the scariest person in the room. When I walk in, I see people go, oh, in their minds, oh, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what do I say? I don't know what to say. And they're so scared to say
Yeah.
something wrong.
Yeah.
So so we were coming up on the 1 year, I call them
Mm-hmm.
anniversary. And, I have two boys, and at the time they were newlyweds. And our middle son had actually, he and his wife got married 3 months after Annie passed away. And uh, in general, getting boys to talk
Yeah.
is hard.
For sure.
In general, yeah, how was your day? I don't know.
Exactly.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Fine. And so we said, for coming up on the 1 year, we wanted to go somewhere as a family and just have some time together and be together on the 1 year. And I said to my boys, hey, I do want to sit down as a family and just say, hey, how was the year? I mean, we talk all the time, but let's take a moment to reflect on how the year is. Has it been? Now, my boys are used to me writing all the, I taught their church classes for years, and I wrote all my own
Mm-hmm.
curriculum. So they were probably going, oh no, mom's going to write a lesson plan,
Yeah.
and their poor wives, their newlyweds are probably like, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. So I, one day I thought, you know what? My boys like card games. And I had kept, as a writer, I keep all the cards that people, when they actually write something really nice, I keep
Mm-hmm.
it. And I had also screenshot really nice text messages and questions people asked me that I thought these are really considerate and
Yeah.
brave. To ask me a question is brave. And so I started keeping track of them in a document. So I opened up my document and I just took a bunch of the questions and put them on like I put them on staples and had them printed on index cards, and just took them on this vacation and just had them on the table. And anytime we'd sit down to eat, you could pull a card and answer the question. And it just kind of started conversation. And of course, I would answer the question different than each of the family members. So you learn something different about
Yeah.
Annie. And one of the questions is there a secret that's safe that you can share now?
Yeah. I
So
love that
that
question.
it's kind of
It's very
funny.
good. Yeah.
And so people started asking, I want those
Yeah.
cards.
It's really cool.
And yeah. And it's just, I'll tell people grief is complicated, but communication doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. And I think as a griever, if you're a griever and you're listening, I really want to say, give those who say something stupid grace, because at least they
Mm-hmm.
approached you. At least they tried. I mean, it's better than people
Yeah.
that don't say
Yeah.
anything. Um, and they're trying to relate to you, and they're trying to say something, and it was brave of them to approach you. It took a lot. So even if they say, I'm sorry you lost your daughter. I know how it feels. I lost my dog. Um,
Yeah. Not quite. Yeah.
just not quite, but you know what? They're trying to
Yeah.
relate. It's not, it's
Their
it's it's
heart's in the
not the
right
same.
place.
And don't say that
Yeah.
to
Their heart's in the
somebody.
right place.
I'm yeah, it's not, if you're listening, don't say that to somebody. But if someone says that to you, try not to be offended. Just realize, okay, I'm new to the South, but I'm learning,
Oh, yeah.
bless your heart. Bless your heart. You approached me, and that was
Yeah.
brave. And I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
that's very beautiful and very encouraging and helpful in so many ways. And also, thank you for sharing the story about Annie's health, journey and what happened,
Mm,
because
yes.
people are so unaware that age doesn't matter in a lot of these things where we think
No.
like, oh, well, and even the doctors don't send people for colonoscopies until they're older.
No.
And so
Mm-mm.
so it's important to be in tune to that, but it's just a great reminder that we we just don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so I love how you want to communicate, and the fact being that you have realized too, in the ways that your other, your sons, they have their own grieving journey, and so, and because they like to play card games, that you design these that way, and to pull cards, when you all sit down for a meal, there, it's a beautiful box, and inside you just pull it open, and inside there's these wonderful cards that have these questions on them. And um, I'd love to read some of the questions. And
Yeah,
I saw
sure.
too, there's a nice, I know Annie loved sunflowers, and you designed these with
Yes.
sunflowers. It's bright and sunny and cheerful looking, and she, just a beautiful, beautiful girl, and talented and lovely, and her music is living on, and
Yes.
she continues to bless people with her beautiful voice. And people can check that out. And, at the end of the show, you can tell people how they can find those things too. But I
Yeah.
love this one here is very helpful, because a lot of times we'll ask people how they are. And so in this card, it says, instead of asking, how are you? Ask, what has this week been like for you? Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really good. And
Yeah.
so, how does that prompt you? Like, in what ways does that help you?
Yeah. Well, when someone asks, how has this week been for you? It tells me they actually want to know, because how are you is just kind of a
Mm-hmm.
hello, and I've got to go. Like, I don't have time, because we're so used to, how are
Yeah.
you?
Hi, how
Good.
are
Okay,
you? Yeah, it
bye.
kind of goes together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And but when someone says, "Hey, how has this week been for you?" To me, that means they really want to know because they
Yeah.
care. Yeah. And so you'll tell them, like, for me, we just celebrated bereaved Mother's Day, and then you're going to go into Mother's Day, and so those are heavy, and so you're trying to focus on my boys and what they want to do for me, but then also you're also remembering the times, when you had your daughter
Mhm.
there. And so there's waves. They call them emotional ambushes. It's like, you'll be doing good, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you'll just get a memory, or you'll see I was driving into this parking lot, and this car went by, and the person driving looked so much like her, so much
Mm.
like Annie. It just like catches you for a minute. And so, just to share those moments with somebody. And I'm learning too, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score, that this really has affected my my pain levels, my anxiety levels, I'm jumpy. And so when you talk about it, for me personally, it's like getting that
Mm.
out. And it's like, oh, that felt kind of better to share that. And so when someone says that, how has this week been for you? It's like, that's a
Yeah.
gift. Thank
Yeah.
you. And thank you for
Yes.
asking, Doris.
And I love it too because it kind of I don't know, for lack of a better way to say it, kind of chunks it down because even if you say how are you feeling or how are you doing, it's kind of the same as how are you, because that's just so broad and like where this kind of breaks it down into
Yeah.
like what got you through this week? How did you do this week? What
Yeah.
things happened this week? And so it's a little bit easier to look at it in terms of a time frame versus overall. So I think that's really, really great. I love that. And a lot of these are about the person who is grieving, and a lot of them are about the person who they're grieving for, which I think is also very important. And that a reminder that you want to talk about the person that you loved.
Yeah.
You want to do that.
Yeah, I saw a thing on social media that says you post new pictures of your child. I post the only what I have,
Mm.
or the ones I have. And yeah, just so many people see us posting pictures of our deceased child, and they're like, "Oh, why are they posting that?" It's like, well, because they're still our child. We don't have going forward
Yeah.
memories. We don't have the newer memories, but we still have what we have in our heads. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we still want to talk about them just as much as everyone else does. And these cards are not just for the family that lost a loved one, they're for the supporters. Because if you're uncomfortable and you're going to see me and you're like, oh, I might see Cheri at this event, I'm just going to ask her how has your
Yeah.
week been? Or, hey, what is something that Annie did? Like, a friend called me one day and she's like, I just took my son driving on his permit. It was terrifying. What was it like to teach Annie to drive?
Mm.
I mean, how cool is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And what a
Yeah.
blessing, too, that when someone asks you a question that's just obviously from one of your cards, it's like you're seeing the fruit of what God's doing through these creative cards that He's given you. And, I love to, these other questions, they're all so amazing. And I like this one here. What was the one I was going to bring up here? So, what do you wish your friends or family knew without you having to explain it?
Yes, that I do want to talk about
Yeah.
her. I think people are like, oh, I don't want to, she seems happy, so I don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I've been to several situations where not one person has brought her up, and that's very painful to me. And as a grieving person, I'm very careful of an event that I'm at, and I don't feel appropriate. Like, if I came to your event, I would not bring up my daughter because we're there to celebrate your
Mm-hmm.
event. And so I'm not there to come and come in and bring my issues in there. But if someone at your event said, this was a beautiful wedding, I bet you miss Annie. How sweet is
Yeah.
that? You
Yeah.
know? But I'm not going to come to your wedding and go, I sure wish my daughter would have been married, because that makes you feel bad. That ruins your event. But if you acknowledge this was a beautiful event, I bet you miss Annie, that's just
Yeah.
kind. And it doesn't make me sad. It acknowledges that I'm already
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think in this world, there's got to be grace on my end and on your end.
Yeah.
And just for the griever to realize how awkward it is for someone else, and then for someone else to realize that I'm just dying for you to talk about. And the cards aren't just for a lost child. I mean, you'll sit down with someone and ask, and you'll hear a story about your mom you might not have known.
That's true. And it's just,
It's a gift.
these are just so precious. And, I love how you said that you're not going to go to an event and talk about it, but it would bless you if people would mention her name. And in the way that you had described, I bet you miss Annie, it kind of just helps remind you that people love you and are thinking about you and want to acknowledge the beautiful life that she had here on earth, and that she continues to have eternally with Jesus, which is so important. Another open door for faith conversations. So, yeah.
Yes. A beautiful verse is, he who started a good work in you, he'll continue it until he comes. That means the work he started in your mother and in my daughter, he's still working those things. Like the calling that he gave your mom, the calling he gave you, the calling he gave me, the calling he gave Annie, he's still going to live out. So the calling he put in your mom is through you and through the things she said and the people she impacted. That calling is going to continue until Jesus Christ, until the day of Jesus Christ, not till she dies. The calling goes on.
Wow. That's beautiful. That is such a beautiful thing, to think of it beyond, what we usually would take that verse as for its meaning, and that there's a legacy and there is fruit that continues, and so because we have life in Christ, because of him, that we're alive in Christ, and because we know that if we look at like something that here on earth, like for example, if a tree is cut down, it doesn't continue to bear fruit. But if we go from this earth to Jesus, the fruit still continues to abundantly blossom and bloom in ways that we would never even imagine. So that is beautiful and so encouraging. And I hope that really does bring a lot of encouragement and hope to someone who's listening right now that really needed to hear it, because I don't think that people hear this or listen in by any accident, because, perhaps they have wanted to reach out to a friend, but just hasn't done it yet because they just don't know what to say. I mean, sometimes we know things that we can do, like I'll bring them a meal, or I will watch, their other kids for them, or I'll walk their dog for them, or, different things that we can do to help them. But as far as conversation, it's just hard. And I think we just overthink things a lot.
Do overthink things. Even before Annie passed away, I didn't like it when someone told me to hang in there. I used to go, like, is that comforting? Like, we're like, when you're having a bad day and your parents go, well, hang in there. I'm like, I'm already having a bad day. Now you want me to hang? Like, how is that comforting? I can only hang on for so long. Then I'm going to fall. And, and then after Annie passed away, I was just like, no, don't tell a griever to hang in there. But I've always told people, no, the Lord tells us over and over and over in the Bible that he's holding us. He's holding us. We are held in there. We are held in there. We are not hanging in there. God is holding us in there. And if you can just find ways that people, through a phone call, through a text, through someone showing up and walking your dog. I had a lady one day knocked on my door and she handed me my dry cleaning because I'd
Mm,
forgotten I had dry cleaning and she's like, I went to pick up my dry cleaning and I saw like a whole bunch of yours. So I just picked it up.
yeah.
That's God holding you
Yeah.
in there. God is like, I see you. And I have a friend literally every day since Annie has passed has texted me, and all she says is held,
Mm, yeah.
held. That's
Yeah.
it. One word,
Yeah.
held. And that just means I'm thinking of you. You are on my mind. You are held in there. You are
Yeah.
held.
Like a touch, you know, like a touch
Yeah,
from heaven,
held. How
and
simple
so
is that?
that people are thinking of you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so true. And especially around the harder days, the harder dates, um, that's important
Mm-hmm.
too. And yeah,
Yeah.
so this is really, really hard for people, but yet these cards will help open up communication and will help people reach out and then know what to say, And so these cards,
Yes.
like here's another one. What's something you wish people would ask you about right now? You're asking the person, what should I ask you?
Yes.
So you're kind of opening up that doorway of conversation.
Yeah. People, what do I wish they would ask me right now? I'm very lucky because of these
Hmm.
cards. I have a lot of people making sure they're asking me questions. But it's Mother's Day. What's a great Mother's Day gift that Annie gave you? What is something,
Yeah.
funny? Annie, singer-songwriter, she was great with words. She would write me silly little poems, or she would, on Instagram, on hers or on mine, she would post a
Mm,
song, you know? And so those are fun questions. What did they do for your birthday? I make sure I put people's dates on my calendar. So when I look at it, it's like, okay, this is the date that this was their loved one's
yeah.
birthday. And I would just text them and go, hey, what was their favorite dessert for their birthday? What was their favorite meal? What would they have wanted for their birthday this year? They were going to be, 30. What would you have done for their 30th
Yeah.
birthday? Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is important and put things on the calendar so you'll remember
Hmm.
too, because you're remembering them and then you're
Yeah.
remembering the person that you want to reach out and touch. And yeah, I think that's so important. I have a sweet, dear friend at church. Their family had a great loss, of a child. And
Mhm.
it started and happened actually on our anniversary when we were away. And so that date is something we have in common. And so every year, I just send her like a heart, and thinking of
Oh,
you, we have that
absolutely.
thing there. And so it's hard, but it's to see how God brings people through the grieving changes. It doesn't go away, but how
No,
God can do things and have you create things like this for people.
thank you.
Community is so important.
It's so important.
Yeah. And so I would love if you could share any last thoughts that you have about anything that you feel on your heart that God wants you to
Yeah.
say. And then tell us, how can the listener find these cards? How can they find it? Because another thing, too, that I meant to mention earlier is, in this day and age where we have our phones that we can video and take pictures, where we didn't,
Hmm.
always have that handy before. And there's a lot of videos that you've shared, different special times, like when Annie wanted to surprise you with something, or,
Yeah.
precious memories of
Yeah.
that. And so when we see that, we can also get to know her a little bit more, and kind of be part of that, which is very, very special. So I love
Mm,
when you
thank
do
you.
that. And so, yeah, so tell us what God has on your heart to share to someone that's listening,
Yeah.
and how we can, get these cards out to people. And
Thank you. I wanted to go back to the tagline, especially with your platform on purpose and calling. Um, you know, our roles. We get so, which is natural. We get very invested and caught up in the roles that we
mm-hmm,
have. Um, whether that is the job we're in, a position we have, a title we have. Those are roles.
Yeah.
And in each role, we bring our calling. But our purpose in life is to glorify and magnify God. That's our purpose. That's your purpose. That's my purpose. We all have the same purpose, and that is to glorify God. We do it through our calling, which is different. Your calling is different than my calling. But our purpose with that calling is to glorify God. But we take our calling, which will never, ever change, into the roles we have. But the roles end and they change. And so many people, when those roles end, believe that their calling is over. And you'll hear people say, I've got to find my purpose. I've got to find myself. And I'll ask them, what role in your life just ended? Because you don't feel relevant. You don't feel validated. And that's what the enemy wants you to think. But our roles in life will end. But our purpose is eternal. And so that's why God says the work I created in you, I will see it through.
Yeah.
Just glorify me through it, and I will see it through. Even when you aren't here, I will see it through. And so my role as Annie's mother is no longer active, but I will see her again. The purpose of my role was eternal. And so whether you're in a season that you've lost a job, you've lost a marriage, you've lost something and a role has ended. God might give you a season of wandering in the wilderness. You might have a season of waiting, but the calling he's given you, what he's put in you, the good works that he planned, the masterpiece that you are, is there. It's an eternal purpose. And so that role is over, but your purpose is eternal. And I just, it doesn't make the pain go away, but he's there with you. He's going to take that calling into another role, and he's going to see it through. And so that's what keeps me going, is just knowing, okay, God, plus I'm too stubborn to let the devil even think he has a chance, but just to know, my roles in life will change, they'll end, but my purpose is eternal.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's the message I hope people.
So beautiful. Thank you.
But
it's so encouraging. And Annie's birthday's this month too. I have it on my
you,
calendar.
yes,
May 20th.
May 20.
It's on my calendar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And so my website's so easy, Cheri Fletcher, Cheri with a C, cherifletcher.com. Everything's on there, the cards, and information, way to find me. Annie, her music's Annie Lauren. And so really quick, I'll try to make this quick. I don't know if you remember MySpace.
Yes.
This is way back, like 19, I don't even know. Well, in our house, the rule was we didn't even have laptops in their room. They couldn't even have a laptop till they went to college. So there was a desktop in the kitchen. And when MySpace came out, Annie was so excited, but I said, you can only be on it when I'm home, and I had it locked down, and you can't even have a friend I haven't met. Well, one day she said, Mom, this girl, her name is Jordan. She friended me, but Mom, please she's from she wants to be a singer in Nashville. She wants to be all this. And I'm like, I don't know, that could be a man posing as this girl. And I said, well, I'll say yes, but I gotta be on, I gotta see. Well, her name's Jordan Mallory. She is a very well-known country singer. When Annie got to Nashville in 2019, Jordan moved to Nashville too, and they met.
Wow.
And so they were friends for like 10 years from MySpace to Facebook. And Annie wrote a song with Katie Reed. Katie Reed's an author, and she wrote a book. Annie wrote a song for her latest book called A Bavarian Summer. And she wrote this song with Katie. And last summer, Katie's book came out, and Annie's boyfriend and 3 of her best friends recorded it, and one was Jordan Mallory. And so I just love how the Lord, I tell people, look back on your grief journey and see all the ways the Lord himself went before you and put these people and things in place. And so the song's called Raise the Sail. and it's, on iTunes and all that. But her boyfriend was able to take out of the little recording that Annie made on her cell phone. And at the very end, you'll hear Annie, because she played it for Katie. And then at the end, she goes, I don't know, something like that. And it's on the recording. It's so special. So so they can find that. And I just still keep her social media up on Annie Lauren Music. So thank you for asking.
That's so powerful.
And your listeners, if your listeners type in welcome 10, they'll get 10% off. And that's evergreen.
Wow.
So,
and that's on your website, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the cards?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I'm so glad that we were able to speak Annie's name all throughout our show today.
Thank you.
And I also want to mention, because the family that I was talking about at church, I want to mention Carter's name, because Carter was precious, little guy, and so we're believers, and we have the hope, in Christ. And so thank you so much for sharing your story and all the ways that people can be supportive of those who are grieving and those who are grieving, to be able to navigate, conversations and communication and with grace. And so I thank you so much, Cheri, for being on the show, and I hope to have you back on.
That would be wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I just loved it so much. And friends, be sure to check out these cards. Grab some of these cards. You need them. You can give them, to different organizations that would benefit by that. I know we have Grief Share at our church, so I'm going to share it with them. And so, just reach out. I'll have the links in the show notes, so you can find Cheri and you can find Annie and all those things that we talked about in the show. And I hope you'll join me next time when I talk with another guest who's taking action where their passion, compassion, and conviction intersect. Until then, friends, have a blessed week, and I'll talk to you soon.